How's it going, everybody? I'm Elijah Campbell from 107.5 The Game, and welcome back to my dojo for another video breakdown for South Carolina basketball. Today, we're going to be talking about the men's team, their impressive performance against Auburn despite a loss, and what they have to do tonight to be able to beat the Vanderbilt Commodores and get into the win column in SEC play. Yes, the Gamecocks are 0-3. It's not where you want to be. There are a lot of other teams that are 0-3 in SEC play right now, so you still have a chance tonight with a win against Vanderbilt to create some separation. But I want to take away some positives from that close 66-63 loss to Auburn, a team that is now #1 in the country, and a team last night that just took Mississippi State to the woodshed. So you played the best team in college basketball, and you only lost by 3 points, and there are a lot of positive takeaways, and that's going to lead me to number one here, the easy one to get to, right? Colin Murray-Boyles, 18 first-half points, scored 25 for the entire game, right? Had a fantastic basketball game, 25 points, 7 rebounds, and was awesome inside the paint, 10 of 16 on two-point shooting. And I think that really made a lot of difference in unlocking a lot of what Colin does. So I wanted to show a couple plays as to maybe why Colin was able to be a little more successful in a game against Auburn, especially against bigs like Dylan Cardwell and Johni Broome. Johni Broome, who, even despite leaving with an ankle injury, is still considered to be one of the two favorites for the Naismith Player of the Year, or any Player of the Year award. Naismith, Wood, and Oscar Robertson, you name it. I've said on my show plenty of times that if the season ended on Saturday, that Johni Broome is still my Player of the Year vote, and the guy is just that good. And Colin was able to take him one-on-one and be aggressive and get to the basket really at will. That's kind of taken me to a couple of these clips right here that I want to show you. We'll start with this first one right here. You look at South Carolina up 4 in the first half, run a little clear out here, giving the ball back to Colin at the top of the key. Nothing there. He dribbles to the right, and you watch him. He makes his defender run into Morris Ugasuk's defender. Now, Morris is setting a screen here on the right side, but Colin's savviness with the ball is one of his better traits. He is incredibly savvy on the drive, and this is a perfect example. You see him take his defender all the way up into Morris's, bump into him, and that creates a clear lane to the basket. That type of aggressiveness that you see in this play is one of the reasons Colin was able to have the night he did. It's a combination of aggressiveness and savviness on the drive. Anytime that you're able to kind of manipulate a defender to your will and be able to let one player, Morris Ugasuk, basically set a screen on 2 players and help you get to the basket, it shows the type of savviness that Colin has. And when he taps into that, especially in the open floor, he's going to be able to get himself some really good looks. We go into this next play right here, or this is really the montage. I mean, Colin at will got to the basket right there, took Johni Broome one-on-one, pump fake, gets around him, scores. He shot really well around the rim. You see him beat Johni Broome off of the dribble right there. And then this play where he basically uses a defender to run into the guy that Morris Ugasuk is being guarded by. That's everything that Colin Murray-Boyles did in this game. And he did it through a variety of different plays. And this one right here, this is my favorite play from Saturday's game against Auburn, where he takes Johni Broome one-on-one. You see him get the entry pass at the top of the key. He sizes him up, goes between his legs. That spin move that you see right here is one of the more unguardable moves that Colin Murray-Boyles has. This is one of his best ways of getting to the basket, right? Johni Broome, who a really solid defender, sometimes can have trouble guarding in space. And Colin got him in space, used that spin move, and shoots that little hook shot as he's spinning. He's getting 2 points every time. That spin move that Colin has is an NBA-level move, and his ability to take a defender off of the dribble in space, and even with his size, being a big, being able to maneuver the way he does and handle the ball in traffic suits him really well. And when he's that aggressive when it comes to scoring, South Carolina really unlocks a lot of what their offense can be. I've said it several times this year, and I want to keep saying it because I think it's the #1 truth of this team, is that in SEC play, you are going to play teams where you will not be the better team on the floor. More often than not, you will be playing a team which you are not the better team on the floor, but there'll be some games in which you have the best player on the floor. And when that best player takes over, wild stuff can happen. We've seen this with this program for a long time. Devin Downey was kind of that great equalizer for South Carolina's men's basketball program for a while. And because he would go off in some games, it would keep you in a little bit of everything. Well, here's what Lamont Paris had to say kind of about Colin and the performance that he had in this game and just being more aggressive overall.
Yeah, these guys, God bless them. It's it's amazing how many times when you really emphasize something, and then you go into a game, and in that game, you do those things better, right? The problem with basketball is there are so many things that at some point, it's like if you have a 2-year-old that learned how to walk, you don't expect him to not walk anymore after that and crawl. So guys start doing something, and then you kind of move on to the next thing that we need to get better at. And so we had spent some time in the last couple of practices with attacking downhill, making strong moves towards the basket. This was not just him, this was the entirety of our group. And then what the finish looked like at the end of it. Did we have an angle to score? Do we need to pump fake? Is there somebody else that's going to be available? So we emphasized that a lot, and obviously you could see that in his game today. You could see that in his game. But he's an aggressive. He's so powerful. He's a very powerful. I reserve that word for you can go in the weight room and push weight around, and that might make you strong. I don't know that makes you powerful. He's a powerful guy. And so when he gets downhill like that and he uses it to his advantage, which he did today, you could see some of that explosion and power, and so that was good. We need him to be aggressive. We need Nick to be aggressive. I want all of our guys to be aggressive, but certainly Colin is better suited to be a guy that's initiating offense and being aggressive.
Good stuff there from Coach Paris. And again, I think the key to this offense being as best as it can be is when Colin is that aggressive, specifically off the bounce, like you saw in a couple of those highlights, right? With the montage, with him taking Janai Broom off of the dribble, with him being able to essentially manipulate Auburn's defense into 2 guys getting screened at once. He's got a really good skill set, and he has a very enhanced understanding of the game. And when he's that aggressive, he's in his best mode. You're not going to survive and win any of the games where he scores in single digits, right? Like you saw against Mississippi State on the road where you lost by a lot of points, or when you lost by a lot of points at home to Alabama when he was held in check for the entire game. Whenever he's able to do this, he's going to keep you in a lot of games, and you're going to be able to steal some if you do get peak Colin Murray-Boyles. Another reason you were able to stay in this game and really make a statement showing that you can belong with some of these teams is defense, right? Ever since Lamont Paris has been in Columbia, he talks about his defensive principles. And after the Alabama loss, he talked a lot specifically about the team not sticking to defensive principles. These are the same things that he coaches with every team. And at the beginning of the year, it's drilled in their heads, and they are expected to play by them. That's kind of the standard, right? That's the defensive standard that Lamont Paris holds this team by. On Saturday against Auburn, they were much better at going into and defending their defensive principles and doing it the way that they've always sought out at the beginning of the year. Here's a clip of Coach Paris talking about how he thought his team did in terms of handling following the defensive principles against Auburn.
We did a really good job with that. Some of it is basic DNA rules for us, and then some of them are tweaked to a scouting report. So you'll see a couple of things that they scored on that are a play that they have, right? You think about it, and so you do a scouting report, you show the plays that they run, but Bruce Pearl has certain plays he runs, I have certain plays. Every team has a couple of plays that they run, and they don't choose to run the plays that don't work. They choose to run the plays that work. So those plays are mainly going to work. I hope we can stop 1 or 2 of them, make the shot a little more difficult. They mainly work. So you can see some of that. We did a much better job in terms of our rules following. There still are a couple, like, Colin gets driven baseline by, I think it was Janai Broom for a layup there. Those are things, a baseline drive, straight line baseline drive. Like, we don't do that. We're not supposed to do that anyway. So there were still a few, but significantly better job of it. And that's why I think we were able to do, and we fought on the glass, and we rebounded, and we were physical. I don't think we backed down in some of those aggressive moves that they made towards the basket. And because of that, you're able to hold an extremely effective offensive group that's also very talented. I mean, you look at them, even some of their first shots were not easy shots, but they made them. That's what really good players do. And so I thought we did a good job overall, really good job of sticking to our principles and hopefully learning that, hey, these things work. This is who we need to be. Let's try that again.
And now let's take a look at some of those things, right? There's a couple plays that I saw during the game that I absolutely had to mark down when taking notes that I wanted to revisit because of the individual efforts, right? Starting with this one right here. You know, one of the things that Coach Paris talks about all the time is you can be screened, but never stay screened. Watch Morris Ugasuk here on this play. He is going to get screened near the top of the key, but he doesn't stay screened, and that's really the big difference. He's going to get screened. Chad Baker-Mazara is going to try to take him off the dribble. If you watch this individual effort by Morris, he's able to fight around that screen and force Chad Baker-Mazara to shoot a shot outside of the paint, so a mid-level or a mid-range jump shot falling away around the baseline. That's a low percentage shot. Even a lot of your best mid-range shooters aren't making that more than 40% of the time. That's a tough shot. It was contested. It was inefficient. And it all happened because Morris got screened but didn't stay screened, fought around it, and was able to still stay in front of Chad Baker-Mazara. And instead of allowing him to get to the rim, forcing him to shoot what is an incredibly inefficient shot along the baseline. That type of effort and that type of willingness to stay with the ball and keep your chest in front of the ball, not stay screened, is one of the defensive principles that Lamont has talked about for a long time since he's been here. And Morris did a fantastic job. And with Jamari Thomas out, Morris needs to get you a lot of those minutes. Jamari is a relentless defender, and I think that's the one thing that he brought to this team when he came over from Norfolk State was his ability to fight around screens, be really physical, and be quick enough to stay in front of what are some of the quickest guards in the SEC, and the quickest guards in the SEC, I mean, quite frankly, are the quickest guards in America. And if Morris is able to stick to it like that, stick to those defensive principles, give you that type of effort on that end of the floor, then maybe you can survive the couple weeks without Jamari Thomas because, again, he's been hurt, got injured in practice, and it's looking like it could be at least 3 weeks that he's out. And if he's going to be out 3 weeks, this is the type of defensive principle following and defensive effort that you need to see from someone like Morris Ugasuk. Now we'll go to another play here. This one blows up a lob to the basket, and this is an incredible effort by both Zach Davis and Nick Pringle. Zach fights around the screen, cuts Chad Baker-Mazara off, and Nick Pringle doesn't overhelp, right? You see after the screen is set for Baker-Mazara to curl around Dylan Cardwell that Nick doesn't help up too much. He stays in position where he's in between ball and man, and that lob goes up, and Nick is able to poke it out of the air. Auburn loves to run these lobs. They are great at catching passes at the rim and flushing them. And against Alabama got way too many looks at the rim and way too many dunks. And in this game, you saw that correction, right? You look at this play, you see the effort that Zach gives, which Zach always gives maximum effort. Fights around one screen, sticks with Chad Baker-Mazara, who is very active on offense without the ball, and then forces a lob. Nick Pringle does a fantastic job of meeting it at the rim and denying the dunk opportunity. And that's the type of defensive effort that against a team like Auburn, you absolutely have to have. It's the effort and the attention to detail. Nick's ability to play off the ball as a big in those type of screening situations, if he gives that type of effort and he's able to get in position like he did there, it's going to be hard to throw lobs on this team. And there are a lot of teams in the SEC that rely on a lot of those lob plays. Think about Florida. Florida throws a ton of lobs at the rim because they have fantastic size. Tennessee gets a ton of lobs at the rim. And if you're able to take that away, then you make a team fight with a hand behind their back. So South Carolina defensively if they are able to give that type of effort in those games and that attention to detail and being in the right spot at the right time, then you're going to give yourself a chance. Now let's check out this play right here. Watch Nick Pringle. Nick does a fantastic job, and Colin did too, in terms of playing defense against these posts. Nick did a fantastic job of staying in front of Janai Broome, knowing that ball is going on the floor and he's going up with an aggression. Janai Broome is a fantastic scorer. He loves to score in the mid-post, and he is physical. And this attention to detail, and a shout-out to Nick again. He had a fantastic defensive game, and even Bruce Pearl afterwards was highly complimentary about the defense that Nick Pringle played in this game, and Colin, the whole entire front court. And really, South Carolina won the front court battle. And this play is a perfect indication, or perfect example, rather, as to how well this team can play defensively in the front court. Nick Pringle does a fantastic job of not getting lost on the screen, because Auburn runs that flex a lot. That flex cut, that flex screen is something that they do every single game on multiple occasions. It's one of their better continuity offenses. Nick Pringle reads it well, doesn't get face cut, stays in front of Janai Broome, and then takes the charge after Janai puts the ball on the floor once or twice. That type of, again, attention to detail, knowing that he's going straight up to that basket and he's going to be aggressive with it, knowing that when he lowers that shoulder, you get yourself in legal guarding position and you can take that charge. That was a fantastic, fantastic clip of defensive effort, and there were countless examples in this game. Anytime you hold Auburn to 66 points, you're doing something right defensively. You're not just holding the game to a lower number of possessions. You are being efficient defensively. And sure, Auburn scored over a point per possession. I believe they're at 1.1 points per possession in the game, but this is a team that is constantly at the 1.3 mark in every single game they play. This is the number one team in offensive adjusted efficiency in KenPom, and you held them to 66 points and about, pretty well below their season average in terms of point per possession. So that's a solid right there. You did great defensively. That type of defensive effort and attention to detail will win you games. Getting close. But the last thing I wanted to revisit from the Auburn game, the Bosmans-Verdonk minutes. This is one of my favorite parts of the entire game. BBV came in, gave you 10 really good minutes. Now, I don't want to underscore what Arden Conyers did. Arden was fantastic. He gave you 30 minutes, scored 13 points, knocked down a couple of open threes, and kept you in this game. You're not in this game the way that you are if Arden Conyers doesn't give you those minutes. But even in the 10 minutes that Ben played, you're also not in this game because whenever Colin had to go to the bench, BBV came in and did the job. And I want to revisit a couple of those plays here, but first we'll get Lamont's thoughts on how Ben did in this game.
Did what? Ben's minutes. Yeah. No, I mean, again, Ben knows what a weight room is. I don't think that's any surprise. So he adds some physicality, particularly on the boards. I thought he did a really good job with that. But I think as a general rule, we had a different mindset. It's still the same guys. I don't know that one guy got stronger from the last game than to today's game. It's more mindset. You can be strong or you can play strong. We played stronger today. It might have to do. I said on the radio. I played George Clinton's Atomic Dog at practice. And the guys got a kick out of it. But, listen to the song, by the way. It talks about there's a lot of dogs, a lot of different types of dogs. I don't know what a harmonic dog is, but a lot of different kinds of dogs. And so we got a kick out of it, but the message was what it was. The message was what it was. Like, you got to come out, man. You got to play. You got to be aggressive. This is what this is. It's basketball. Like, the more aggressive you are, the more the whistle favors you. The more aggressive you are, the more times you find yourself in a good position. The more aggressive you are, the more times you rebound the ball all right? And we emphasized that. We talked a lot about that. And then I think again that we saw a significant improvement in that area. We have a great group of guys. They try to do what we ask. And as any coach could only want would be that his guys try to do what they ask. And so we challenged them in that area, and we saw a lot of that tonight. So hopefully as we move forward, again, we can turn the page, they can file it away and use it as the benchmark now as we look back to what the game needs to look like.
Thanks. Right. He's right. Ben does not miss, weight room days. If you walked into the gym and you had to pick one person who knows where the weight room is, it's going to be Benjamin Bosmans-Verdonk. All right? The guy's swole. He's jacked. Obviously the most built guy on the team, so he's very strong, got a great build. This is what he can do really well, is defend and rebound and screen and set really good screens. When you got a body that big, you should be able to screen really well, and that's one thing he did in this game. I want to revisit a couple of plays just to kind of highlight the effort that he had. This one's the defensive effort on Janai Broome. Again, the potential National Player of the Year. Ben is taking him face up. Janai tries to back him down, isn't going to get any push on him, and is forced to shoot a tough shot over his right shoulder. Granted, that is one of Janai Broome's best shots, one of the best spots on the floor where he succeeds, but Ben did a fantastic job of staying in front of him, not getting too antsy, and making him shoot a tougher shot than normal. Basketball is a lot about shot quality and shot selection. The quality of this shot is not as high as it could have been if Janai Broome is able to get a foot into the paint and to be able to get maybe a couple feet closer to the basket. But he can't. Ben cuts him off, and you see him have to take a tough contested shot. The name of the game when you're playing really good offensive teams is you're not always going to be able to stop them because they're the best offensive teams in the country for a reason. but there are times where you can be able to make them shoot tougher shots than normal. And in that instance right there, Ben did a phenomenal job of making Janai Broome shoot a tougher shot than normal. That's how you guard a lot of these players. We'll go ahead and look at another one right here. This is a fantastic defense and rebounding effort. Ball goes into the post. Watch Ben. He curls around, gets his man, perfect form box out, and gets the rebound. But if you watch him this entire possession, he's in between ball and man. He's in the paint. And as soon as the player acts like Chaney Johnson, acts like he's getting ready to take a shot, he immediately cuts off the passing lane to his players so that way he doesn't overhelp and create an easy duck-in opportunity for two. And then he also, in that process, starts the boxing out movement in motion. Boxes out perfectly. And the only way that Hudson was getting that rebound over BBV was if he went over the back and committed a foul. But BBV did a fantastic job of keeping his rear end into him, knocking him out of rebounding position, and securing this rebound and making it still giving the Gamecocks still a chance to tie the game or take the lead with 8:40 left to play. Those type of defensive plays can help win you games when the margins are really tight. The margins were really tight in this game. Saving 2 points and keeping Auburn off of the glass is a fantastic, fantastic job of making sure your team still gets in the game. You're going to play a lot of great offensive efficient teams, right? Tennessee, Florida. You already played Auburn. You already played Alabama. You're going to play Mississippi State again, who's top 15 in offensive efficiency. You're going to play Texas A&M this year, who is a very efficient offense, but they only are because the offensive rebounds so well. So in games like that, players like Ben need to be able to keep other players off of the offensive glass. So that type of effort is what you're going to need from him significantly moving forward. Now let's kind of look ahead to the Vanderbilt game. Let's go ahead and take a look. A team, they just came off a loss to Missouri. You're going to play in Memorial Gym, which, my opinion, is one of my favorite places in college basketball to watch a game. If you've never been, one year, I highly recommend Gamecock fans make the trip if you haven't. It's a very unique gym. I think still the only one where the benches are on the baseline, right? So if you've ever watched a game there, you'll notice the first thing is that the benches aren't on the sidelines, but they're underneath the baskets. It's still a unique wrinkle. It's a very unique gym, very old, an elevated floor. It kind of resembles a stage, which is the most Nashville thing imaginable. But the team for Vanderbilt this year, significantly different, and they're much better. It's been a rough couple years for Vanderbilt underneath Jerry Stackhouse, and when Scottie Pippen Jr. wasn't scoring a billion points and pulling out wins out of his rear end, they struggled to get wins in this conference. I think since 2019, the Vanderbilt Commodores have averaged a finish of 10.7 in the SEC, and that's bad. They've been in the cellar. They have dwelled in that cellar for a while in this league. And in year one under Mark Byington, the former head coach of James Madison, who led them to a win over Wisconsin last year in the NCAA tournament, they're better. They're significantly better. A.J. Hoggard from Michigan State is one of the better transfer portal additions that you'll find in this conference. He sets the tone on offense. But there's one thing that I want to look at regarding the Vanderbilt defense that really stuck out to me when doing my preliminary research about this Vanderbilt basketball team. You look at this this screenshot right here. This is from Ken Palm. What sticks out here? Of course, it's going to be whatever I circled, but on turnover percentage, they don't turn the ball over. They're 16th in the country in turnover percentage, and they're top 20 in forcing turnovers. That 22.4 right there means that their opponents turn the ball over on 22.4% of their possessions. Almost a fourth of Vanderbilt's defensive possessions result in a turnover. They're really good at this, and I've always wondered why. They've been one of the reasons that I've been able to notice, going back and watching the Missouri game, is their defensive philosophy. They will play one-on-one. They play some really tight man-to-man defense, and they don't help off of shooters. Another thing that Vanderbilt doesn't give up a lot is three-point attempts. They're one of the lower ones in the SEC in terms of opposing team three-point rate. Not a lot of teams are getting three-point shots on them because they're not helping off of shooters. They will occasionally dig on a drive to the basket. They might send a help defender to dig and swipe at the ball and then go back. But not oftentimes are they completely leaving the shooters in the corners or on the wing. They do a really good job of playing the gaps and jumping the gaps and taking advantage of bad passes. Missouri's an all-right passing team, but there were a couple of instances where some lazy passes led to turnovers. And I want to start with this clip right here from the Missouri-Vanderbilt game. This is early in the first half. Missouri's nursing a pretty good lead. Tamar Bates thinks he's got a pass up here, a pretty lackadaisical pass, and Jason Edwards picks the ball off. Now, Edwards for Vanderbilt is a very savvy player, really good without the ball. This is a perfect example of how good the Commodores are off the ball. Watch him. His eyes are always on the ball, always between man and ball. And as soon as that pass is made by Bates, as soon as Bates picks the ball up and is making that pass, Edwards has it in his mind that he's picking this off. You can't fall asleep and make lazy passes against this Vanderbilt team. That's how they are top 20 in the country as it pertains to turnover rate, is because they will take advantage of your lazy passes. And South Carolina this year has had some careless passes. You're not going to get away with that against a Vanderbilt defense. If you want to be able to get this first conference win, you have to be able to make better passes than what Tamar Bates did right here. Maybe a pump fake, or maybe realize that pass isn't there and swing the ball back out. But Vanderbilt does a fantastic job of getting off to the races and forcing those steals. Here's another one in this game, too. Another Edwards steal. This was the next defensive possession. Vanderbilt plays aggressive on the ball screen. Missouri tries to reverse it. And Edwards again. He's here in the corner, in the left corner. Caleb Grill is going to try to make a backdoor cut, but Edwards plays that play perfectly. He understands where his man is, and in the process of understanding where his man is quick with turning his head, getting his palms down, and deflecting the pass. Yes, that baseline pass was going to be there. Grill made a fantastic play by doing the backdoor cut. And going backdoor was the best chance that Missouri had of maybe getting a bucket there. But Edwards played the play fantastically. That's part of scouting. That's also just part hustle. That's part of knowing how to play your gaps and playing off the ball. Off-ball defense is every bit as valuable as on-ball defense. And Edwards is a fantastic off-ball defender, and by doing so, creates a lot of turnovers. Watch the quick head snap. Turn around, deflect the ball, bam, another turnover. Vanderbilt's going the other way. And they forced 14 turnovers in this game. A team like Missouri, who's one of the better teams in the country at not turning the ball over, had a subpar day when it came to protecting the basketball. So when you play this game tonight in Memorial Gym, Carolina is going to have Colin be aggressive as he was on Saturday. I don't think there's a player on Vanderbilt's roster that's going to be able to take Colin one-on-one. If you can get to the basket against Chani Broome, if you can get to the basket against Dylan Cardwell for Auburn, you're going to be able to do so against the forwards at Vanderbilt. Not saying that they're not any good, but I don't think any of them can contain Colin for two halves of basketball. Colin's got to stay out of foul trouble. He's got to be able to get to the rim, and you can't turn the ball over against this team. Vanderbilt loves to get steals and get out on the break. That is how they push tempo, right? A.J. Hoggard plays a lot of what in the Big Ten they called booty ball whenever Micah Shrewsbury was at Penn State. But this Vanderbilt team specifically does a really good job of stealing the ball, getting out in transition, and that's how they create fast break opportunities. Because on offense, they do like to play in a half court and space you out. This is one of the better teams I've seen in college basketball in maintaining their spacing, and they love to take dribble drives. They love to use the spacing that they have to create lanes to drive to the basket and then maybe kick out if you overhelp. That's one thing that Vanderbilt does really well. But defensively, I'd noticed they do not like helping off of three-point shooters, and they are fantastic at reading passing lanes and picking you off. That's something that this team's going to have to be cognizant of coming into this game. They're going to have to avoid turnovers. I think if they avoid turnovers, they win the turnover battle, get to the free throw line, and Colin gets really aggressive and is able to get you 20 points, you're winning this game at Vanderbilt. I like your chances of winning. This is not an easy game because there's no such thing as an easy game in the SEC. But this is one of the better chances you have at taking a game on the road in this conference. It is a massive opportunity. It might not be a box office basketball showdown of like a ranked matchup, but this is a game that is massive for both teams because Vanderbilt's going to be viewing South Carolina as one of their most winnable games on the SEC slate as well, and all of those games are immensely valuable. And for South Carolina, this is a winnable road game. I think this game is a little closer than maybe some of the computers can indicate, but if Morris is able to play defensively like he did in the clip that I showed earlier in this video, you're able to get a lot of Colin getting off the dribble and getting to the basket, and you're able to avoid the silly turnovers that can cost you in close margin games. I like your chances of possibly going to Vanderbilt and stealing a win on the road in SEC play and finally getting on the board. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Elijah Campbell. Catch me Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 on 107.5 The Game with Jay Phillips on the postgame show. We're breaking this game down today, reacting to it tomorrow, and continuing our coverage of Gamecock men's and women's basketball all winter long here on The Game. I'll talk to you next time.